It's the moment we've all been waiting for. If you haven't seen, Drake just announced on his Instagram that Iceman episode 3 is Thursday. Now, I see the main theory that we all had, you know, the blue, green, red theory. It holds up. Not to mention that blue, green, red are the colors that are going to light the CN Tower in Toronto on, you guessed it, Thursday. So what's up? What we thinking? My thing is, where do you think the location of the episode is going to be? Because the next time Drake performs will be September 7th in Paris. But right now, I would guess he's still in Italy, or maybe he's left early for Paris. So I guess I'm asking, like, what do y'all think the episode will take place, Italy or Paris? What do y'all think we get? Y'all think we get just a song? Y'all think we get song album announcement? Do y'all think we get the whole album? Do y'all think we get OVO Fest announcements? I'll be honest, Drake, you've been hanging around Yeet a lot, and no disrespect to Yeet, but I don't think I want you giving this big moment to a Yeet feature. No disrespect to Yeet. You and Yeet, if you want to put a Yeet song on the album, I'm fine with that. But this is Iceman episode 3. This is Red Button Iceman right here. I don't know. The moment's here. I'm excited. I know y'all excited. What do we get?
Now, here's the first things that come to my mind now that I know this is happening. First and foremost, where is he shooting this? Can y'all let me know, where is he going to shoot this? Where is he going to be on tour on Thursday? I could look it up, but maybe y'all could just let me know in the comments. Secondly, what is going to be the song attached to episode 3? He hasn't teased anything like he did with the Central C song. So I'm wondering what this record is going to sound like. Will it be the record he teased at the end of episode 2? We'll see. And then thirdly, will this be better than episode 2? Because let's not forget, although he took a long time between episode 2 and 3, let's not forget, episode 2 was mid. Everybody agreed, even Drake stans agreed. It was mid. So I'm hoping and praying that they took a little extra time to plan it a bit better, so it wasn't just so drawn out and we can get to the punchline. Episode 2 was mid. Y'all can admit that, I can admit that. But episode 3, I got my hopes up. Let's see.
All right, y'all see this, right? Take a good look at this image. Y'all told us that it's gonna be a media blackout the next time Drake does anything. So once this drop Thursday, the only people who should be paying attention is Drake fans.
Quick breakdown of what we know and what some fans are expecting. So episode 1 kicked off with him dressed up as an Iceman company worker, sitting in a break room watching old clips of himself on TV before it transitioned into the music video. What did I miss? Drake calling out so-called friends who switched sides during the beef, even sending some shots that could be directed at LeBron James. Episode 2 gave us Which One with Central C, more of a party vibe, but the visuals went way deeper. That creepy Pinocchio figure stalked Drake, and fans think it could represent the people that have been telling lies about Drake since his beef with Kendrick Lamar, or even a jab at a UMG executive who Drake is suing right now. Now here's where it gets interesting. Fans pointed out how each episode is tied to a color. Episode 1 was drenched in blue, episode 2 leaned heavy on green, and now fans believe episode 3 will be the red phase. That theory is tied to a leaked Drake track called Blue Green Red from his 100 Gigs vault. Fans think that episode 3 could be the red button moment Drake's been teasing for the past year. Whether true or not, this isn't just an album rollout anymore. Drake's turned it into a full-blown storyline, and episode 3 might be the biggest chapter yet.
All right, as we're all aware, Drake announced yesterday that Iceman episode 3 is dropping on Thursday, sometime Eastern PM in the afternoon. He also posted a slideshow of multiple photos throughout his tour in Italy, including this Iceman ice chest, which is a legitimate ice company in Italy, in Milan. So I'm guessing this is where he's going to shoot his next episode, since he's always started his episode in some sort of factory, although episode 2 wasn't an ice factory. I believe it was like an ice cream factory. So I'm guessing this is where he's going to start his episode as well. This is what the outside looks like. This is kind of what it's set up like, and it is set up in a way where they can kind of block it off for production and just allow only Drake and his team to utilize the area without too many people, harassing them. Then lastly, This is just outside Milan, Italy, so it all adds up. What are y'all thinking? Are y'all excited for Iceman episode 3? Are we going to get a Drake rap record? What do we think?
Yeah, a lot of news today. We got the Bobby Drake interview. Drake doesn't really discuss what's coming in Iceman in this interview, but there's a lot of hints in there, you know. At the end, he says, we'll save this for episode 3, and then he looks into the camera. Then at the very end of the interview, he throws up the 6 as he's leaving the interview room, talks a whole bunch of shit, calling out pussies and haters. Very interesting. Trolly interview as expected, but, you know, he's clearly sending out messages and hinting at shit that's going to come. Also very funny to me during the interview, he calls out the losers in the hip-hop media. I think he's very clearly referencing Elliot, Ebro, Rosenberg, and the countless others that whine about him all the time, call him terrible things, support the propaganda against him, and then go on and whine, why isn't he supporting the American hip-hop media? Fucking take a hint. Then we have 40's interview that dropped today. That shit was so beautiful, man. I absolutely love to see it. First off, 40 shining light on Gaza. It's just fucking beautiful to me. I understand, like, Drake doesn't want to get into that shit because he doesn't want to be that kind of artist that comes off as preachy and, you know, comes off as like over the top, wanting to endorse, you know, heavily political things and ideas. And I don't think he does it from an area where he like doesn't want to talk about it or wants to shy away from it. I think that he just finds that idea of somebody in the celebrity status, you know, preaching their ideas like they are some sort of authority. He finds that kind of corny, and I understand that because at the end of the day, you're not a fucking scholar, you're not a politician, you're a fucking entertainer. So you should do your job. And Drake does his job, which is entertaining. So I just find all that shit funny. But 40's interview is fucking beautiful. He's in that interview, and that's being conducted by the legendary artist Narcy, aka the Narcissist, Montreal Iraqi artist. I've been a fan of this guy for more than a decade now. Some of my favorite songs are his: Iraqi Primetime News, Alhamdulillah. The guy's put out great projects countless times throughout the past, and he's done amazing work. Just a fucking legend in the Canadian scene, and if you know, you know type shit. 40's interview, he talks about, you know, what it's like being a Canadian artist. You have to really exceed expectations. You have to be excellent. You have to be very fucking good to make a name for yourself coming out of Canada, Toronto, anywhere in Canada. And he talks about being an Arab Canadian. You know, as someone who is an Iraqi Canadian, you know, I wear my flag. It's touching to me to see that shit. And I really appreciate 40 taking that time to express his thoughts, because I know that's not something he likes doing. He doesn't want to fuck with the celebrity aspect of what he's a part of. He wants to be behind the scenes and make music, and make that music speak for itself. And again, this relates to what Drake's whole ideology is when it comes to this shit. And I fucking really respect that. It's amazing, that interview. Go read that shit. Shout out to Narcy, shout out to 40. They're fucking amazing talents, and I have the utmost respect for both of them. Now, let's start moving on here. We got Iceman episode 3 in the midst. We can see it in our sights, y'all. And I know everybody's sick of the hype around this shit because we're like, when the fuck is this going to drop? But I am very confident when I say this is the week. Whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Thursday, whether it's Friday, I don't know. But it's going to happen this week. If I'm wrong, then I trusted people a bit too much. Don't blame me. But first off, we're going to start off with Jared. Certified Jared, y'all know him. He's the fucking go to this Twitter shit. Absolute legend. Fries people on Twitter on the daily. Has turned his Twitter clout rise into an actual, you know, business endeavor. This guy's a fucking legend. He doesn't let people phase him. He's a fucking goat. So he came on Twitter earlier this week saying, Iceman episode 3, Italy. And we know Drake's only in Italy until the end of the week. He confirmed earlier today, Iceman episode 3 is not going to be tonight, which, you know, understandable. Tuesday would be a bit of an odd day. So we still got a couple of days left in this week, and we're all pretty fucking excited about that. But what I've been thinking of is just like these 2 interviews dropping today, the first day of the week, technically in Canada at least. We got Labor Day. I'm not entirely sure about the States, but we got Labor Day. So the week started today, Tuesday, like the business week. So these 2 interviews dropping today, that sounds like rollout season to me. And I know a lot of people are feeling that too. Then we got more stuff coming, like the social posts from Theo. He's been posting a lot of kind of like scenes from Italy, maybe setting the stage for Iceman episode 3. We also got Ben Dorado, who's been posting stuff on Twitter, or sorry, on Instagram. And he's been posting like red themed stuff. I mentioned in the last video, there was the flag of the Milan team, red. He's posted again a red sign of some kind that was for, I believe, a scaffolding company, Scaffolding Rentals, which I think, you know, seems like it might be a reference to the setup for episode 3. So very interesting stuff. Another piece of info we got. A lot of people have been talking about this already. What's the Dirt's been covering it in recent streams. Shout out him, he's a GOAT. Another piece of info of that is the CN Tower light schedule, showing blue, green, red for tomorrow, September 3rd. Now, obviously, the blue, green, red theme, very heavy in Drake's work. I touched on this a lot in the last videos, and I just think this is undeniable at this point. It's a certified fact that this next episode is going to be fucking red. So, stay tuned. People are assuming it's Thursday or Friday, the stream, because that works with, you know, industry tracking for numbers if you release a single. And that makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, I don't think it's unlikely that Drake would do the stream on Wednesday and drop the track on Wednesday. Like, truly, I don't think he gives a fuck. There's a lot of stuff like that people think it's because of the tracking that it matters, but he's dropped tracks on a Friday before with What Did I Miss? That could have even led to why that didn't go number 1 when it reached number 2. It had a day short tracking. Also, I think just like Drake knows he's got a lot in the chamber for hitting number 1. I don't know if he's necessarily dying to go number 1 off of this next track. You know, we're going to see. Also, he knows the game's being rigged against him. He knows what UMG is doing. Like, Again, people think it's conspiracies and shit, but it's not. He's going to surpass that Michael Jackson record eventually. It just matters which one. And I don't think he's in any rush. I think it's a possibility that Iceman episode 3 happens tomorrow night, but I don't know for sure. But then again, we got to go back to that snippet saying got to light the tower up for this one. And blue, green, red, kind of hard to ignore. So, again, I don't have the answers. I'm just trying to connect some dots. But let's touch into some other stuff here. I think the theme of this next track and the Iceman album itself is going to be extremely Canadian. My personal speculation about this is just that Drake has been kind of with a chip on his shoulder about the aspect of him being the Canadian artist that's running the rap game down in America. And I think this has had a lot to do with the beef itself, about how the culture has seemingly tried ousting him, and a lot of other things that are at play right now in the narratives online and, in the media, whatever the fuck that is. So, first song that Drake dropped post-beef. What was that? Wagwan Delilah. So Wagwan Delilah, clearly a troll-ass song. All respect to Snow Day. He's an amazingly well-known comedian and artist out of Toronto, Canada, and he's known in the scene very well. And he did drop a great EP recently called Wagman, and that shit actually has some beautiful tracks on it, I'm not gonna lie. Pocket Rocket being one of my favorites off that EP. Honestly, good shit. And then, that was literally a troll-ass song for Drake to release post-beef. Everybody's expecting some big clapback, but he comes out with this clearly comedic track with the animated music video and everything. But what's interesting about that is he's pointing that light on Toronto, he's pointing that light on a Canadian artist, and that's for a reason, not random. He's not like, I'm gonna go make this random ass song with this, social media comedian, and that's gonna be a brilliant strategic move because of whatever reason. He's doing it because it's showing love to Canada, specifically Toronto. Then we go on past that. 100 Gigs didn't really have these themes, but the No Face video is shot inside of a nearby Toronto shopping mall. He shut down that shopping mall and he's whipping through there with his crew of his day ones that have been by his side forever now. And the last shot too in the No Face video is the Raptors championship ring on his hand with a skeleton glove. Obviously intentional. So past that, we have Some Sexy Songs for You dropping. Now when this dropped, you could clearly see immediately that this was Canadiana at its finest. Everything. A multitude of ways. First off, we have the fucking cover. The cover itself is the Marilyn Monroe Towers in Mississauga. These are iconic towers in Sauga. I grew up in Sauga. Party grew up in Sauga. Me as an aspiring musician, I have old music videos where I was filming these fucking towers, trying to throw it in music videos. I know plenty of artists from Sauga who have been trying to include these in their videos. They're iconic. They are the defining monument of Mississauga in this day and age. So those towers being the cover of Some Sexy Songs for You was monumental. I can't stress this enough. Mississauga is not well known around the world. And to see that, and for that album to go number one, is crazy love to a small town nearby Toronto. It's not really that small, but a lesser known town nearby Toronto. The first song on that album, Some Sexy Songs for You, is CN Tower, featuring the red, green, blue themes. Now, this is obvious love to Toronto, giving an iconic song to the city about one of the most well-known landmarks in all of Canada. You have songs in music and from history that have shown immense love to New York, California, other American cities and other cities around the world. You have Empire State of Mind and stuff, referencing landmarks, all that stuff. Drake clearly wanted to make a song for Toronto, for Canada with CN Tower. So that was very specific. Then we got a ton of other references throughout Some Sexy Songs for You. You got Mothballs where he's saying YYZ, racing because the gate about to close, references to Pearson Airport. You got lines like Saga City Trip, bagging up at No Frills, Saga City Kid got you blushing on cam, pull up to the 6, we get the tax running, I'm a Fallout boy when they call out gang. These are kind of very specific references to Canadian culture and just where his head is at. And I think the Fallout Boy line specifically is interesting just because he's indicating that he's about to crash out. And I think that's what we should expect at this point with episode 3 and with what's to come in the Iceman album. Now we get into the biggest hit from that album, Nokia. He's got lines on there saying, got members east of the DVP, we got members west on the 401, we got a lock on the game, but there's more to come. That's a fucking specific reference to Toronto that I guarantee you nobody understands if they're not from here or understand or know the area. The DVP is a highway and the 401 is another highway. They kind of interconnect, and they're the biggest highways in Toronto, apart from the Gardner QEW, but these are very specific references, and I think he's making a point to use these references more to show that he's doing this shit for our city, for the 6, for Canada as a whole. And then we move on to one of the later songs that dropped after Some Sexy Songs for You, Tumaza. Now, this track kind of flew under the radar. It was on Smiley's album. Smiley, obviously a much smaller artist compared to Party or Drake. This track, Tumaza, was fucking crazy with the references for Canada, Toronto, and just the area in general. He referenced Toronto, Mississauga, Waterloo, Royal York, the airport Ramada Inn by Pearson, Bridle Path, Montreal, Hamilton, Barrie, Muskoka, Brampton, and then he went on and said fuck Hollywood and the Hamptons and even threw in some respect for Gaza in there. The amount of references on that one track, just really, he was clearly trying to do that shit, again, for Toronto, for the ends, for Canada in general. And then that comes back to 40 and Narcy's interview that dropped today. Like 40 choosing to do that interview with Narcy is just showing love to Canada, showing love to a real OG artist. Like Narcy is an artist, bro. He fucking, I don't want to get into it because I could go on all day. He is an artist. Please look him up. He has been about this shit for a very long time. Now to go back to some sexy songs for you, the Foreshadowing in that album I think was crazy, especially the ending. So on the last song, Greedy, the last lyrics that Drake has on that album are, "These are my confessions though, I'll let you know how I'm feeling." And then he repeats that, "I'll let you know how I'm feeling." Drake multiple times during this tour run in Europe has said, "I got a lot to say. We're going to have a long talk about this. We have a lot to talk about." He's been saying these types of things repeatedly. So ending the album with those specific lyrics is very, again, intentional in my mind. And I don't think that's just random. I think that's alluding to the heavy content and I think lyrical content and dense verses we should be getting with this album. And the other thing about that song, Greedy, is at the very end, if you listen carefully, like in those last 30 seconds, it's just ambient noise and music and sounds. And it's clearly like a storm in the distance. You can hear thunder and you can hear rain. It's like not quite, heavy on the ears, but you can hear it in the distance. So I'm feeling like that whole album, Some Sexy Songs for You, was the calm before the storm. And the storm is Iceman. It's going to be chaotic. And, you can't see it getting much smoother from here, my love. So again, a lot of things to come. And like just another note, in Canada, we have ice storms, very real ice storms. One of the most notable ones that comes to my memory was in 2013. It was right around Christmas, just literally the night before that Drake showed up at Kanye's after party at the Hoxton in Toronto in 2013. I was there live, and like that shit was one of the craziest things I've ever seen live. Kanye, Drake, and Virgil on stage, like fucking 10 feet in front of me, jamming out to each other's hits. I recommend fucking Googling that. One of the most legendary things I've ever seen in my life. The best thing I've ever seen in person. Crazy. The energy in there, literally to this day, gives me goosebumps. So I know I'm already fucking rambling way too long here, but I'm very excited what's happening this week. Y'all got to drop me a follow. I'm talking about this shit daily. I talk about other stuff and got other videos on the way too, but I'm talking about the most interesting shit right now in the world of hip hop that everybody's fucking talking about, that everybody's making money off of. It's Drake, because he's fucking been feeding the game for 15 years, man.